The Golden Sparrow's Melody, the Baker's Deed. Once upon a time, in the bustling kingdom of Vermillion Veil, a captivating melody would awaken the citizens every morning. This melody came from Xavier, the Golden Sparrow, who perched atop the highest branch of the ancient glitterwood tree that stood towering in the town square. Xavier's song was not an ordinary melody, for whispered amongst the townsfolk was a legend. A legend proclaiming that Xavier's enchanting song held the magical ability to grant a wish, but such a boon came with a significant condition. On a radiant morning, a humble baker named Ulrich, with sweat dotting his weather-beaten brow and a heart full of longing, found himself gazing at Xavier. Ulrich, who toiled day and night in his small bakery, desired more than anything to have his creations recognized by the Vermillion Veil's royal family. Overcome by the lure of the enchanting song, Ulrich murmured his wish into the morning breeze. The melody abruptly hushed, only to resume seconds later, this time interweaved with a new tune, a signal that the wish had been heard and considered. Riding high on the thrill of the granted wish, Ulrich was suddenly reminded of the legend's caveat. Before the sun dipped below the horizon, Ulrich must perform a good deed, or face a lifelong curse. Glancing at the sky, Ulrich noticed the sun was ascending towards its peak. The urgency was mounting, the ticking of the town's grand clock echoed in Ulrich's ears. As Ulrich rushed back to his bakery, planning to offer his finest pastries to the town's orphanage as his good deed, he bumped into Ignatius, a fellow townsperson. Ignatius, an old, blind musician, had fallen onto the cobblestones, his violin scattered into pieces. Ignatius was a cherished figure in Vermillion Veil. Despite losing sight years ago, Ignatius played the violin so beautifully that every evening, the town square would fill with residents to listen to Ignatius's performance. The scattered violin pieces were a metaphorical dagger in Ulrich's heart. He couldn't abandon Ignatius in such a desperate state, but aiding Ignatius would mean losing precious time, risking the possibility of the curse. After a moment of inner turmoil, Ulrich made his choice. Recognizing Ignatius's need was greater than his, Ulrich abandoned his original plan, deciding to help Ignatius instead. He took Ignatius's trembling hand, promising to do everything within his capacity to help. Ulrich visited every artisan in town, urging them to repair the violin. Many hours and pleas later, a skilled craftsman named Leopold agreed to restore the precious instrument. The sun was beginning to descend towards the horizon, and Ulrich was filled with anxiety as he watched Leopold work, the artisan's hands moving with skilled precision but not with the speed Ulrich hoped for. Time was a luxury Ulrich didn't have. Finally, as the sky began to bleed hues of orange and crimson, Leopold handed the mended violin to a relieved Ulrich. He thanked Leopold and hurried back to the town square, where Ignatius waited, a crestfallen figure beneath the glitterwood tree. As Ulrich returned the violin to Ignatius, the old musician's face lit up, transforming from despair to delight. Ignatius caressed the repaired violin, a sigh of relief escaping his lips. That night, Ignatius played again, his tunes intermingling with Xavier's, creating a melody that seemed to heal the hearts of Vermillion Veil's denizens. Ulrich, standing at the back of the entranced crowd, felt a strange sensation coursing through his veins. His heart pounded in his chest, not with fear of the impending curse, but with a profound sense of fulfillment. As Ignatius's music filled the air, Ulrich found that the reward of helping a friend was a more delectable taste than the sweetness of his finest pastries. However, the moment of tranquility was soon overshadowed by anxiety as Ulrich realized the sun had disappeared beneath the horizon. The deed had been done, but was it enough to satiate the demands of the golden sparrow, Xavier? The next morning, as the sun began its climb, a royal procession made its way towards the town square. The townsfolk of Vermillion Veil watched in awe as Queen Beatrice, renowned for her beauty and wisdom, stepped from her carriage, her presence commanding the square. Beside Queen Beatrice was Princess Florence, a young maiden with eyes as vibrant as the morning sky. The Queen, standing beneath the glitterwood tree, announced, "Yesterday, the royal court received a pastry, a humble loaf of bread, so exquisite, so delicious that even the royal chef was at a loss. We had to meet the creator of such a marvelous culinary delight." Every eye turned to Ulrich as Queen Beatrice summoned him. The humble baker, unsure and disbelieving, stepped forward. His mind buzzed with confusion. He had never sent a loaf to the royal court. Then, realization dawned upon him as he remembered giving a loaf to Leopold, the craftsman, in gratitude for repairing Ignatius's violin. Leopold must have sent the loaf to the royal court. At Queen Beatrice's request, Ulrich started baking for the royal court. His creations were appreciated far and wide, and his bakery flourished like never before. The curse that Ulrich feared never came to pass. Instead, his life was filled with prosperity and recognition he had longed for. Ulrich often found himself standing beneath the glitterwood tree, listening to the duet of Xavier's enchanting melody and Ignatius's rejuvenating tunes. He realized that his good deed had not only saved Ignatius from a life of silence, but had also led him to his wish in an unexpected way. The tale of the humble baker's good deeds spread throughout Vermillion Veil, reminding everyone that the beauty of Xavier's song was not merely in the wishes it granted, but in the acts of kindness it inspired.